Welcome. This is Deb. My name's Deb Shell. For anybody watching, if there is a recording, we're hopefully going to post later. I'm super excited to see you here today. I don't know I'd like to talk with people. So if anyone else does join, I definitely want to have this be a conversation instead of like me talking. But I'll give you a little bit of background, and then maybe that'll get you both to maybe have a question or two for me that we can kind of workshop or anything like that. But basically, I'll give you a little bit of my story here. I started bringing people together in person in workshop style groups in 2019. And it was basically like I had an idea around doing these interactive workshops where we talked about wellness and mindset. And one of the things that I learned a lot about over the last number of years was that how I want to feel, and part of that is feeling calm. And when I was at a corporate sales job, I did not feel calm. It was the opposite of calm. I actually had to like leave the building to like sit in my car or go outside to take a moment to meditate and get away from the noise and the distraction. And it was a very hard environment for me to work in. But what that taught me was to have the ability to find calm without have that ability to do that, because there was a time when I thought like this is impossible, like I don't know how I could ever find calm here. So that kind of was led me to, after I learned a little bit about meditation and yoga and essential oils and all these different things, and to support my friends who were teaching and facilitating these kinds of wellness practices, I decided I wanted to have an in-person event. And so I hosted a 5-hour it was a 5-hour workshop in my little one-bedroom apartment in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, where I lived for the last few years. And I had a friend who helped me come. I had a number of people there. One person was somebody who started a meditation to have us be present for the session, and we did a little bit of stretching and movement. And then I also had somebody who taught about how to create a space that's calming, because she helped me pick do a mood board and pick colors to actually enhance the space that I was living in, to have it feel calming. And she asked me, well, how do I want to feel and how do I want people to feel when I come there? So from all of these different experiences, I had another person come that talked about artwork and how you can integrate artwork into your space to help you bring some calm. So I had a couple different people who had expertises in a couple different areas. And I felt that that was really valuable, because now we're bringing all these people that I knew into one space and then sharing that with my friends and family. So we started that in 2019, and I called it Find Calm Here. And then I did another one in January, and that was also called Find Calm Here. It was a mental health workshop where we actually talked about how do we find joy, not just calm, but how do we find joy? And so we actually practiced some laughter yoga. We did some other stuff. And then I do a lot of vision boarding. And so I don't know if anybody does vision boarding, but I love to do some creative projects, and vision boarding is one of my favorites. So when when it was coming to the spring in 2020, I wanted to do a vision board workshop in person. But then with the pandemic, of course, we were not meeting in person. And so I ended up meeting somebody through some groups that I had been participating in, who offered to give me a space to talk to him about what my concept was, what my community concept was. And I told him what I had been doing, and he said, here it is. You can really transition this easily to virtually. And he gave me the plan of how to do that. And basically, it was these basic steps of creating safety, experience by identifying how I want to feel and how I want to experience the space, and then creating a space that allows to cultivate the shared wisdom of people that are in the room. So bringing together people virtually and then allowing them to feel empowered enough to share their not just what experiences they're currently having, but their life experiences. So I launched my online community on Mighty Networks in 2020 as a way of helping people find calm in daily life, which it seemed like was really relevant for the time being that we were in the middle of a pandemic. And then I also had been learning about how you can have a membership and you can ask people to pay for that offer that you're creating. And so I thought this would be great. I can recruit. So I ended up recruiting over 50 speakers to lead virtual workshops every week. And we did over 30 of them in 2020. And it was such an amazing experience. We had a lot of different people come and talk about a lot of different things. The challenges and what I learned was that I didn't have the right people in the room at the same time. And so then those people didn't know why they should pay or invest in this. And therefore the business concept I had was failed basically because it wasn't aligning with people and I hadn't built the know, like, and trust factor with these people for them to be interested or willing or understand why this is important and why they would want to invest in it. So nobody knew that when I was doing this. But what happened is people noticed that I was doing a lot of like Facebook lives and I was going online a lot and promoting things. And a lot of my following was at that time on Facebook. And people said, "Hey, Deb, I have a coaching program. Can you help me set that up?" Or, "Hey, Deb, I really like what you're doing with Find Calm here. I want to learn more about how I could use this for my business." So then I started to become a consultant. People asked me about how to structure a community and how to put it together and market it and promote it. So I started doing that. And from that experience, I learned a lot. And so now, over the past 2 years, I've revamped a lot of my programs. I was mentioning earlier, my community is now free. It's Find Calm here. And it's with community builders and community managers and people who want to facilitate and lead online conversations. And we talk about how do we do this mindfully? How do we do it with a intentional um, concept behind it? And how do we do it in a way that's not going to drive us crazy? Because leading a lot of virtual events is a lot of work, and promoting them is a lot of work. And honestly, I burnt out and it was very exhausting. So, what I learned from all that was the best way to find calm. And I'm going to go back to the set, and then I'll maybe say if anybody wants to ask questions and stuff. But the way I found calm was that I discovered to make things really clear so that everyone understands whatever it is I'm trying to explain to somebody, or if a business owner or if a community manager or a new member is trying to understand what this community is about, we have to get really, really clear. And it's the job of a community leader or the community manager to really be able to communicate that. And sometimes that's really hard for people to they know why this place is important as a leader, but they have a hard time communicating that. And so that's kind of where I've evolved to helping with people is how do we clearly communicate what this space is, why it's important, who is it really for? And that means we exclude people. We say, well, it's not for everybody. This is for a specific group of people. It's not just for everyone. And that's okay because that means that the people that come in feel that this place is for them because they've been told it is. And so I guess from that experience, I've learned that communication and simplifying any community strategy is the key to being successful. Is the more clearly you communicate with your members, the more clearly you communicate with your audience, the better you're going to have a chance of having people be able to understand what you're doing and then want to participate, because also, a community is about creating connections and inspiring others. So that's a lot of the what we want to do with people is have them come in and feel like it's a space where they can share their challenges, maybe share successes. They can maybe share whatever wisdom, that things that they know that we don't know. Because what's great about a community is that everybody has their own life experience, and they bring that to the table every time you join a virtual or an in-person event. You bring your whole life experience, and nobody's had a life like yours. So, and people that your network is yours, and I don't know everybody that you know, and you don't know everybody that I know. But what makes that really great is when we have conversations, and if you say you're struggling with something, or if I say, I wish I knew X, I wish I knew a person who did websites, or I wish I knew a person who was really great at automating systems. Well, then I could say, all right, well, let me think. I might know somebody, or you might know somebody that you could refer me to. And so that's one of a lot of other reasons why community is great. And the reasons why I feel like you can find calm with doing it is when you're clearly communicating to yourself. And I kind of wrote the calm method out, which is clarity, awareness, learning, and motion. And I did put up a blog post, and I'll just share it in the chat. But I did do a blog post. Hold on one second. New window. A blog post. I can share my screen, I guess, huh? Cool. All right. So on the Frying Calm Here website, there's a blog section here, and I just recently put up I think it's on the second page, actually. I put it up under this event. There's an event. That's today's event. But here's the article. So I'll put that in the chat. It's called How Do We Find Calm as a Community Manager? And basically, I listed in here, no matter how many communities members you're managing, whether it's 100, 1,000, or 10,000, it always takes time, energy, and effort, right? So the best thing we can do is to clarify like what your responsibilities are. So these are the 4 steps here that I'll just throw into the chat. I think I can do that. And then I'll share with you the link too. But basically, it's what I've learned is that it's helpful to get really clear on your role, what you do if you're working for an organization, and knowing exactly the expectations for your role, as well as what's the purpose of the community? What is the goal? What are we trying to do here? If it's an organization, is it a goal of bringing people into an online paid space, or is it about like brands awareness and getting people or getting feedback from a product or a service? So we really want to know those things. So getting really clear and granular on like, what am I trying to do? Why? And the biggest important thing is, why is this important? And why would other people want to give me their time? Like, the question that came up yesterday in an interview is, what's in it for me? And when you, as a community manager or community leader, you have to constantly be thinking about what is in it for them. So what is in it for the members? And then awareness, as just talking about leaning into the community members' experiences when they share them with you. So we talked a little bit before we started about recording about asking the members. And sometimes it's easy to ask them in a one-to-one conversation. Sometimes it means maybe asking them in a group setting. Sometimes maybe they don't want to answer your survey. So you have to like direct message them and say, hey, is everything all right? Or how can I really serve you? But just getting focused on, what the members' needs are before. And that's a lot of about what I do in my world. Is a lot of people want to know, well, Deb, what's the content plan? How much content do we need to create? And what does that look like? And how do we get all that done? And a lot of it really is about, well, what do your members want? Do they want a lot of content? Probably not. We're at a point in time where we don't need a lot of content. There's a lot already out there. There's not a lot about community management or community. So there is a need for people to create content in this specific space. But as far as what you might not be talking about community building in your space, you might be talking about a whole nother topic. And there might be lots of information on that topic on the internet. So sometimes it's more about organizing content and telling people here's what's important, giving them the key tips. Like, okay, you could read this big book, or I could just tell you in 5 minutes, here are the things that I learned that were big takeaways for me. And that might be helpful for a lot of people. I feel like that's really a valuable asset. And then learning to be flexible and just, knowing that you're just learning. Every day is a new day and you're learning lots and lots really, really fast, especially in some of the industries that you might be in. There's a lot thrown at you all at the same time. So just being aware that you're just going to keep learning new things. And then when you can, schedule ahead of time, try to get a little bit ahead of the calendar if you're doing content planning, or find out ways to automate tasks. And maybe that if you're working with a team, maybe you do have an operations manager and maybe that's you. So maybe just tapping with, if you're working at an organization, asking the organization, like, what are the tools we use and how do I get trained on those tools? Because they should be providing that for you. It shouldn't be just like, go find out. Now, if that's the case, I know what that feels like because that's been my whole life in the last 2 years if nobody's telling me how to do anything. And so I'm kind of doing a lot of my own research and training on my own. So just know that, you know, that's another way that you can find a little bit of calm, of just like learning some things a little bit at a time, not trying to like take on a whole big book in a week or something when you know that that's just going to be really hard. And then just taking action by, like, taking the most time consuming tasks and being able to have focused attention on them, and then identify like how you can make them maybe more efficient or maybe more productive, or maybe blocking out time and really focusing on, well, what's going to give me the greatest impact. And that maybe could be, well, the biggest impact is going to be if I really talk to a couple of the key members that maybe could help me create some engagement, maybe if there's no engagement, or maybe if there's a lot of engagement and you're having a hard time managing, well, then maybe talk to a few key volunteers or ambassadors that you have about, hey, would you have like a few minutes to just jump in and like help me with doing X or something. So just kind of tapping into who's already in your network and who's in your community, and really working with them to build better relationships, because at the end of the day, this is all about relationship building. And it's really just important to just say, what are you guys struggling with, and how can I help you, how can I serve you? So that link I threw in the chat, I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to welcome, I see we have Joy and we have, is it Offron? I'm not sure if that's right, but I want to hear from you all. So I'm going to invite you, if you're interested, to join me here and maybe have a conversation, because I'd like to just, let's chat and let me see like how, like, any takeaways from that, or if there's questions, if I didn't clarify anything. I know some people came in late. So um yeah, so I'd like to hear maybe like where y'all are from, what are you working on, as far as what challenges do you have, how are you struggling or succeeding in, like, maybe finding a little calm in your day. How are those things going for you? So I'll stop for a minute. And I'm taking a minute to breathe too, because I went really fast. But thank you so much all for being here. And I'll just say, if you don't want to like unmute or go on video, you can certainly post things in the chat. Obviously, there's a Q&A area there. So if you wanted to throw something in the Q&A, I'm happy to answer any questions. My experience has been mostly in building online communities for entrepreneurs, founders, and startups. I'm starting to collaborate now with some larger organizations and really get a handle on it. But like, what's really fascinating to me right now is the challenges that I seem to have people seek me for, as far as entrepreneurs who are working by themselves, are also some of the challenges that startups or nonprofits have. Because honestly, they're trying to multitask, they're trying to do a lot of things. And so when I'm working with an organization and they don't have necessarily the clarity on, those pieces of who we bring together, why is it important for that? Like, what's in it for them? That like makes me a little worried because I'm like, well, we don't want to launch a community, and then invite 10,000 people to join the room, but then we really haven't given them the reason on why that's worth their time. And I think there is somewhat of a, I don't know what the right word would be, but there is some kind of an aspect around, you know, volunteers. I'm sorry, but like, who was volunteering today? Because there's a lot of people that are busy and not everybody has time to or wants to volunteer. And especially the other thing I will say is I feel like it's challenging from a volunteer's aspect of wanting to volunteer, when there are rules out there that people get paid to do this. So I think there's a lot of challenges in this space. But what's great about the community industry right now is that it's what everybody is talking about. It's what everybody is interested in because we just went through 2 years of not being connected, um, and feeling really either alone or just isolated or whatnot. So the industry that you're in is the best industry to stay in because it's a thing that humans cannot survive without food, water, or connection. It's right up there with healthcare, and you are a key pivotal role in helping people feel connected, which is a very basic need. And at this time, I've heard a stat that said, like, if you feel loneliness is actually compared to the health problems that come along with that are equated to smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. That's a pretty major impact on a person's physical health because of a mental illness issue. So just to know that your job or what your role or just being interested in building community and bringing people together online, it's such an empowering place to be. And it's also comes with responsibility, but it also comes with a lot of really great, rewarding feelings. Because when you have two people that can connect, that's when the magic happens. So I don't see any questions. I don't see that we have um, anybody who's really looking to unmute or to have a conversation, but I'll keep it open for a little bit longer, if anybody is interested in it before we kind of close out. I want to say thank you, Margaret, for coming on and sharing, and just seeing your face was lovely. So um, I will definitely be putting in the chat here if you want to contact me later. I'm always happy to chat. So if you want to get on a one-to-one call at a later time, would love to chat with you. And I'll throw that in the chat.
Thank you, Deb.
Welcome. I'll put that there. Yeah, so if there's not any questions, or if anybody, like I said, I put the blog link in here for.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Deb. I enjoyed every of your session. So my name is Ofon Brown. I'm calling in from Nigeria, West Africa. So I
Oh.
wanted to know, in talking about CAM, as a community manager, how do you deal with difficult, members of a community? You're trying to be calm, you're trying to make the situation to be calm, but still they're coming up at your objectives, and you know that the objectives of the organization, you are like the face behind the objectives of the organization. But now you're trying to be calm, but we always have difficult participants, difficult members. How do you tackle that? How do you get through to them? I really I need clarity on that.
I'm so sorry you're having this challenge. It's very hard. And especially I can relate to not wanting to have difficult conversations because I'm such a positive person. Um, but I'll say I really think it just comes to the clear communication and setting the right stage inside a community. And I don't know if there's a conflict as far as if they're violating a guideline or a community rule that you have, or if it's about, the context of their communications, like if they're posting something that's inappropriate, or if it's more about, yeah, if you could give me any more context on it, I would say that could be helpful for me to give you some specific thoughts. But I think it really just comes down to communication of if the person is violating a rule, for example, or violating a community guideline, there's clear things. Now, if you don't have community guidelines set up, that's definitely something I would recommend. But like community management, in my thought, and when I was a community manager, it's really about making sure that the people get to where they need to go. So if they're looking for information or if they're trying to give some feedback about a product or service, um, a lot of it comes down to customer service of like, just responding to them. We're all humans, right? So we all have emotions and feelings. Now, if they're just being inappropriate or rude or just not friendly whatsoever, um, you should be able to remove them from the community. If it's more about they just are posting or connecting in a way that doesn't serve the purpose or the mission of the community, it might be a coaching a session with them of having a one-to-one call of sometimes people don't know, they really don't understand maybe that they're crossing a line or they're doing something that's inappropriate. That does happen. So I would say the first thing I would say is communicate with them what's okay here and what's not okay. So if they're violating some kind of community guideline and like maybe they're spamming or something, it could just be like, hey, I saw that you posted something and that's actually inappropriate here. So I'm going to remove the post and I'll just remind you of our community guidelines so that you can honor those going forward. If this is somebody who constantly is just not acting professionally or even just posting really inappropriate content or could be rude or could be racist content or could be um, opinions that don't reflect your brand, you have, I would say if you're in the position that you can make that decision, that call to just say, this just isn't a place for you to be. I don't know if that's helpful. Am I going in kind of the right direction? I would also say that sometimes it's just good to I saw a post on, social media the other day that one of a colleague that I know that I really respect, he was mentioning about he gets these really rude messages and emails into his email box because he has he has a product and he has, over 40,000 subscribers or something like that. And he gets inbox messages all the time that are like, I hate your product, or you're stupid, or this is stupid, or like personally attacking him. And he shared that he doesn't take it personally anymore because he learned that it's not his problem, it's their problem, and you can't change someone else. And so if somebody is not willing to have a calm conversation about something, then that's more about them than about you or your organization. And so then you can then step back from that and say, this isn't something to give my energy or time to. I think that's helped me a lot. Um, kind of there's this phrase in the US, it's like, not my monkeys, not my circus. So it's one thing to say, you know, you can tell somebody till you're blue in the face about something, or you can just say, you know what, not worth my time. And that kind of lets you off the hook in saying, I've done what I needed to do, and now I can just not have the conversation with them anymore. But I think those are the ways that I would handle difficult conversations. Are really just about miscommunication based on feelings and expressions and thoughts. So if I'm upset with somebody, I don't passively aggressively stomp around virtually or in person and be angry with somebody without telling them. One of the biggest things I've learned is that if you've got a problem with me, then tell me. That's your responsibility. It's not my responsibility to read your mind. It's your responsibility to tell me if something I've done upsets you, and let's have a conversation about that, because most likely that wasn't my intention. Now, there are people that are psychotic and that are intentionally trying to deceive or manipulate people, and then those are the reasons why you remove, you ban, you remove them from the situation. I don't know if that helped, but I think it's really just about getting clear on the communication, the purpose, and some people you can talk to, and just it's a simple, here's what we would like you to do, and here's what we would not like you to do. And then if you break our rules, then you're not going to be here anymore. And then, if it goes beyond that, it's up to your policies of your company or organization or yourself of how you feel to handle it. But basically, there's just not enough time in the day or hours in the day to fight with people. That's not what I want to do. So a lot of the reason why I left social media, that I don't spend time on Facebook or Instagram. 99% of the time, it's not worth my time. I'd rather talk to people like you. I'd rather talk to people that have, passion and interests in things that I'm passionate and interested about. Um, if there are people that disagree with me about politics or religion or, rights or responsibility, then they can go and disagree, and that's fine. I'm not going to try to change anybody else's opinion or mind, because I know that's just impossible. But it's getting to that understanding that can be really hard. And if it's inside an organization, sometimes it's hard. Um, when I had my corporate job, it was very stressful, and I brought things up to management, but there was ultimately not going to be any changes made. That's just the way it was. And so that was when I said, you know what, I'm just going to leave, because this just isn't for me. And I could go into a whole rabbit hole on that story, but just to say that I had to at some point stand up for myself. And I think we have moments in our lives where we just say, this isn't worth it. Whatever that means. the conversation, the relationship, the career, the job, because we only get to live once. And there's just not, I just don't want to spend my time arguing with people. I really derailed on that. So I'm sorry. I could talk like all day about stuff. Um, and I have a podcast, so you can clearly tell I like to talk. But okay, so I hope that was helpful. If like I said, if anyone else had questions, Joy said lovely saying. Marguerite says she enjoyed the session. Thank you. I think we're gonna wrap up. I appreciate everyone being here. I'm really thrilled to talk with any of you about your situation, particularly, so we could go into more detail if you'd like. So feel free to either send me an email or book a call. If you go on my website, findcalmhere.com, you'll see more information about connecting with me. And that's all. I think that's it. So I don't know if I answered your questions about finding calm, but I can tell you it's not easy. It takes intention and effort, but it's possible. Go ahead. Hi.
Yeah, thank you. I already booked a call with you, so I'll call you on
Oh,
too. Thank you, Margaret. Thank you.
very good. Very good. And thank you to our host. She had some technical challenges, so I'm sorry that she couldn't return back to us. But super happy to have met you both. You have amazing challenges that are completely different from mine. So, and I'd love to hear more about what it's like on your part of the world, on your where you live, and how you're facing those, and how maybe I can talk to you about finding more calm in wherever it is you are. So, for all who are listening or watching the recording, please reach out to me. Happy to chat. Findcalmhere.com is my website. If you have more questions, shoot me an email and I'd be happy to chat with you. So, have a good day. I'm going to wrap up our session for us today and take care.